Kids in Middletown are crazy about competitive bike racing. So crazy that the town has 3 riding clubs, known as the Apples, the Oranges, and the Grapes, in which kids train and compete regularly. And every year, on the 4th of July, the town organizes a bike rally for kids who will be entering 9th or 10th grade in the fall. The Apples, Oranges, and Grapes each enter a team of 10 riders. The 30 riders take their positions at the starting line, and when the starter blows the whistle, they set off on a course that winds for 50 miles through the hills and valleys around Middletown. After 2 hours, the riders stop where they are, and the officials note the distance covered by each rider. Mr. Miller is the 9th grade math teacher at Middletown High. At the beginning of the first class in September, he says, "I overheard some of you talking about the results of last summer's bike rally. Since we're going to spend this term learning some basic tools in data science, I thought it would be interesting to see if these tools can help explain how different riders performed in the rally. So I asked the rally organizers for a list of the results and entered the data into this Excel spreadsheet. In column A, I gave each rider a number, and column B shows the number of miles each one rode. By the way, from now on, I'm going to refer to data organized into rows and columns like this as an array." Let's now look at an XY plot of the data. On the x-axis, the riders are arranged by number. The y-axis shows how many miles each rider covered. What do you make of this? Fran says, "It looks to me like the riders are all over the place." "I agree," says Mr. Miller. "There's a lot of variation in the miles ridden by the different riders. So in this class, I want you to think of miles ridden as a variable, like the variables we've been studying in algebra. And for the rest of the course, the letter M will designate the variable for miles ridden in the bike rally. Now, using Excel's sort function, we can reorder the rows in our array by ranking them from lowest to highest M value. When we do the XY plot, the data now look like this. And when we look at the data this way, a few things jump out. First, as we've already noted, there's a pretty wide range in performance, a spread of 29 miles between a low of 19 and a high of 48. The rally lasted for 2 hours, so we can divide these numbers by 2 to get the rider's average speed in miles per hour. I expect the 6 lowest riders may have had a flat tire or didn't finish for some reason, because they averaged only 10 to 12 miles per hour, which is pretty low for competitive racers. On the other hand, I'm wondering what the top 6 riders had for breakfast, because they averaged 20 miles per hour or more over the course of 2 hours. The average or mean value for all riders is 32.1. So here are our goals for the next 8 weeks of this term. First, to identify the factors that explain why individual riders rode more or less than the mean of 32.1 miles. And second, once we understand how much influence each factor has, to make predictions for how riders will perform in next summer's rally. So how are we going to do this? Let's start with this question. What factors do you think were the most important in explaining rider performance last summer? Fiona says, "I think the riders who did the best were more motivated, determined, and focused than the other riders." Sheila says, "I think the best riders were natural-born athletes, of a kind well-suited to competitive bike riding." "No," says Sherman. "Everyone knows that the Grapes' parents spend a lot more money than the Apples or the Oranges on bikes and coaching. So my guess is that the best performers were all Grapes." "Okay," says Mr. Miller. "Before the next class, I'm going to collect data from the riders that will help us to measure each of them on these 3 variables. And from now on, I'm going to refer to the variables as grit, which measures motivation, determination, and focus; genes, which measures natural athletic ability; and privilege, which measures how much the kid's parents spend on their equipment and training. In the next class, we'll add the data I collect on these three variables to our data set and begin our analysis of what explains rider performance in last summer's rally. See you next time.